All right, so now I have Benny from Savage Spirits. You are the captain of Savage Spirits, and you are the owner. Am I right about that? Of the whole Savage thing? Like, how's this? How's
Uh,
that work out?
so Savage Esports is kind of like I guess you could say like a personal project at this point.
Hmm.
Um, it originally I guess this will cover a little bit of my like how I got into 82L thing, but when I first joined 82L, it was under Wards and Base, which is like a classic 82L stack. They don't play anymore.
Yeah, I
Um,
remember them. I actually played against them several times.
Yeah, and I got handed the reins to the Savage Sabres team because the team disbanded after I don't know season 31 or 32, um, and I kind of took over. And I decided that if I was going to be the captain of something, I kind of wanted to make it into a little bit more official of a thing. So I made Savage Esports.
Okay, cool. So I'm looking at 8012 as far as your account goes, and I'm looking. It says that you've been playing since season 29. Is
Yep,
that
that's correct.
correct? Okay. So you've been playing for basically you're almost at the 3 year mark. Almost at the 3 year mark. So you've been here for
Oh
a good little
Jesus!
while. Yeah, I know.
What the hell? Where's
You
the time
are
going?
you are 1 month off of the 3 year mark according
That's
to
crazy.
the Dota buff. So I mean that does mean you've been here for a little bit. You've seen a few things, so that's always very cool. I wanted to ask you though because I know that I think 2 seasons ago you won the what has arguably been said as the hardest and most big debut of a fucking season to date. Probably the biggest achievement in Dota 2 Season 37 Challenger. Cough, cough. No, but what I want to say is you've had some different roster changes. I'm pretty sure like every season almost. You've kept Gav Print though for a lot of this, if I'm not mistaken on that as well.
Yeah.
So what I want to say is, as a captain, how do you find your rosters? How is your roster changing from season to season?
Um, so when I first took over for Sabres, I was a lot less, I guess you could say, like connected in the community.
Hmm.
Um, so there was a lot more like scrolling through the free agents channel and just talking to people, and I had a lot of bad experiences with that. That um, that is how I got on a team with someone that the community knows I hate quite a lot, and that was a miserable experience. um, and I had a mid laner that I played with who was just kind of a miserable guy. So I try to kind of choose from like people that I know usually. The last like 2 seasons has been a little bit easier because I'm a lot more I guess connected in 82L than I used to be. Um, I'm not necessarily like a vibe captain. Like I'm not picking up people just because I like them. I also want them to, like be good players. Um,
Yeah, for sure.
but I will say that the vibe is definitely a priority because having played 82L in several seasons where I just was not having fun, like I was not looking forward to playing on Thursdays, and it's like why bother even doing it at that point? So for me, it's like vibes are not necessarily first, but they're pretty important. And obviously, I want good players on my team.
Hmm. And I actually did look at a few of your previous seasons, and I think outside of 2 seasons in your past six, you've had top four finishes, which is pretty good. That's really good. I mean, for a team, especially when you're changing out your roster every season. And so I wanted to say I have heard through the 8012 community, as far as what I also know, between you and IPA, I think you two put in the most preparation of any captain in terms of every single series that you play. And so I wanted to ask what some of your preparation is for these series.
Um, well, I don't want to give too much away.
No, yeah, of course.
But my understanding from talking to people like Chev, who I know tends to do scouting for his teams, um, I think a lot of people tend to prioritize like a couple of specific heroes, um, and they just kind of go with the flow a little bit while drafting. I am not a good drafter, or at least I didn't used to be. I did not really. It took me until like a couple weeks before they just changed over to this new draft order for me to like finally get a handle on the old one.
Hmm.
Um, and it's a little bit famous in our tiebreaker series against R&B for upper bracket in the season 37 Challenger run. I drafted for that series, and after the fact, people were saying that my drafts looked like when you do your homework during like lunch period when you have like class next period.
Yeah.
Um, and so I've tried to compensate for that by like we go player by player. We try to identify like threats and non-threats on a team. So as an example on rejects, like you're a threat player because if you're like having a good game, if you're on your hero, you're going to carry the game, you know. But certain other teams might have like a support player who's like lower ranked, or maybe their best hero like just isn't very good in the meta. Like that would be like a non-threat player basically. And so we try to kind of identify like where can we apply pain points in the enemy draft, and like how can we capitalize on that, I guess. And we always do like, I guess you could say, like sample drafts. um
Yes,
you know
I love hearing that. I am
yeah.
one of the few people who also do mock drafts all the time. I love hearing other teams do that.
We don't do a ton of mock drafts, but we do like lay out kind of like how
Yeah,
we
yeah.
want our drafts to go, which I think is really helpful.
Hmm. Very cool, very cool. So little insight on the Savage Spirits draft here. I do want to say though, I don't want to get into any drama because I mean I think most of the drama was like for some reason overhyped and kind of dumb anyway. But kicking players is something that some teams do. I'm not against it at all, and I don't want to get into any details here, but I do want to know, as a team who kicked a player in the middle of a season, what was more so for you as the captain? What was more so of your thought process and the final decision making on why it happened and how it went down? Not any details on drama, but just as a captain perspective, why you had to do it.
Well, I can kind of give some details. Bonkey and I have spoken since the separation. We are cool now. Um, I would like to specify that it was not a kick. That was a little bit of misinformation going around because some people don't really understand how to
How to
verify
keep
their
things civil? I
sources.
know.
uh, but pretty much, Bonky and I had been wanting to play together for like a pretty long time. And so when he sort of became available for the team, I snapped him up, especially because like we were kind of having trouble finding offlane players at the time, and it was like I don't know,
Relatable.
a week. It was like a week, 2 weeks tops before the start of the season, so we kind of couldn't keep like messing around, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and as a result, we didn't really get to do as much like pubbing and scrimming and that sort of thing prior to the season. And as a result, we kind of missed the fact that there just were chemistry problems. I think Bonky's strength as a player is that he has like really, really good game sense and he makes really, really good calls. And I mean, while he was on our team, like the calls that he were making when we were playing like pubs or even like scrims and officials, like they were game winning almost every time. But the problem is that his vision of the game clashed with like how we wanted to play the map in a lot of ways. Um, and unfortunately, it was just too difficult to kind of reconcile the differences in views. And I also think he was just having some. Uh, I think he has kind of a a problem playing Dota sometimes, and I think he just needed a bit of a break. My understanding is that he took his break and that he's feeling a little bit better, and he's back queuing now. So hopefully that did him good.
Nice. Okay. Okay, so I see. I knew there wasn't any bad blood there, or anything. It's I mean, everybody has their own what they want to say, but I knew it wasn't terrible. I actually was trying to pick up Bonkey myself before the season. I apparently DM'd him 2 hours after you did, is what he told me. So I was unlucky on that aspect.
Unfortunate.
No, but how do you feel about your new offlaner going forward?
Battle God is a really good fit for the team. Him and Riley had done a lot of pubs prior to us picking him up, so they already had kind of like a pre-established dynamic. Um, and not for nothing, but in games, Battle God likes to get a little crazy, and we're pretty big fans of that, I would say. I mean, during officials, we got to try and focus up, but Battle God is very much like a laugh and have a good time while we're steamrolling kind of guy, and so in that way, he's been a really good fit for the team. Um, his hero pool is interesting. Most people would say cringe, but I think that it's actually been adapted really well into our drafting strategy, so I'm pretty happy.
Nice, nice. It's always good to hear. I know playing against you guys, you're able to kind of like first pick or first phase his hero. I guess now it is just first pick, but you can either first pick it or second pick it, and it allows a lot more flexibility for your pause four to be able to pair that lane duo and get more information on that, which seems really good.
Yeah.
So I can definitely see that. I do want to ask you personally. This is not about your team, like as a whole, anyway. What are some, I guess, like struggles since you've been in the scene for quite a while, played several seasons as a captain? What are some like struggles that you've had to deal with, even if it's not this season, in regards to maybe keeping players together, keeping their cool together, maybe coming back from like a hard 0-2 1 week or something that something that you do as a captain to get your team through that?
Um, well, I've been really lucky the last couple seasons, in that we have lapsed pacifist on our team, and that dude is like a psychological brick wall. Nothing fucking gets to that guy. We'll be like loading into a pub, and you get like the classic like Chinese death stack, and they've got like 200 games on the account or whatever, and
You just want to abandon and go
you know,
next, yeah.
we'll start being like, oh, like these guys are fucking smurfing, like this guy's got like 200 games, like whatever, and Laps will just immediately be like, they're bot games, these guys are shit, let's go. Like this guy is like an absolute stalwart, so I always know that I don't have to worry about him, and honestly, more often than not, it's really just me and Gav that need some mental management. And I think really our best coping strategy is usually just like, sit back, take a break. Like, normally, like when we 2-0 in officials, like we always try to get our obligatory like 5 stack pub like right afterwards. But like obviously, when we get 0-2'd, we don't do that. I'll like watch the VOD, I'll take notes. Um, it's really easy when you can identify like singular things that went wrong that like make a game go wrong. Like, if you fucked up in the draft or if you like made a bad map movement the same way or whatever, like it's a lot easier, I think, to recover mentally when you have those kinds of problems. I think it's a lot harder when you have things like my two players disagreed about what to do in this situation and it made them argue. Like those are the kinds of things that are, I think, really hard to manage. And so my priority as a captain is always to play mediator,
Hmm.
and trying to make sure that everyone on the team is sort of looking at the game consistently.
I feel that. I feel that. I do respect the whole after a hard series going and watching the VOD. That is something that a lot of people don't do, and it's very beneficial actually.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
Especially when maybe for instance it's right after the game and you know something you did wrong and you can look at it under like a microscope rather than waiting 3 days maybe forgetting what your thought process was in the moment. It's really helpful. So I do like that. That is something that a lot of people should probably incorporate uh, as a captain. So what I want to say is going forward for the rest of this season, more of on a Conquer 39 season question here. What are, say, like one or two teams that you are a little bit worried of playing for in regards to like your team as a whole? So maybe whether it's
Um,
like the play style clashes or something like that.
I think that most of my concern is that, and I should preface this statement that I mean absolutely no disrespect in any form whatsoever, but our schedule in the last couple of weeks has been kind of not a challenge for our team.
Hmm.
Uh, and that's not to say that we're like coming into every one of these matchups thinking that we're gonna stomp or whatever. It's more like Samsara and Grin Fury have like play styles that are like identifiable and problems that we can sort of like exploit, right?
Yeah.
Whereas a team like Dynamite, for example, who is still technically top of the division. Like we haven't played them. I haven't really had a chance to like go watch any of their games. I don't really know anything about the team other than the fact that people have been talking up a lot of their players. So like I'm worried about that in the sense that I'm just not prepared yet.
Yeah.
Um, I anticipate we'll have to play them at some point, but I guess we'll have to see, what this week brings and whether or not we're all going to tiebreakers or not, which is going to be a shit show, no
Yeah.
doubt.
No,
Um,
I feel that for sure because from personal experience, I would rather either lose a series 0-2 or go 1-1 against a very difficult team or who maybe top three teams, whatever, to get the experience and kind of like push my team to the limits because it's easier to learn from that than playing a team who, I mean, no disrespect, but a team who maybe bottom three and you don't feel like you learned anything. So I 100% agree with you on that.
yeah, and it's also like when we were getting 2-0'd by like Seven Dark 30, which was mostly my fault for letting them have Jamie without consulting my team, or like Helmets On, which was I think the first team we got 2-0'd by. Yeah, it was our second week. Like uh those losses felt bad not just because they were like, we were like pretty highly rated going into the season and everything, but also because it's like I think a big problem we had with those games wasn't necessarily getting outdrafted or outskilled. I think a lot of it just came down to like having these clashing views on like the game state and like how to win the game. And
Hmm.
because we couldn't kind of come together on that, it affected our ability to just play the game normally, and that's why we lost, not necessarily because we got like straight out skilled. And again, no disrespect to any of these teams, the Helmets On boys, like they're they're really good. Seven Dark 30, I have nothing but respect for IPA and his boys. But when you lose because you feel like you didn't get to play the game, it feels a lot worse than losing because you just were outclassed.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's a difference of what you could have done better versus just not feeling like you did anything.
Yeah.
So I get that 100%. So closing out the interview, I have a last question for you. It's kind of like a two-part question. I want to know one on one aspect. What is maybe since you've been in the division, but the whole 80-12 for quite a while. What is maybe one captain or a player, somebody that you look up to? Could be the same MMR, higher MMR, lower MMR, doesn't matter. Just a player you look up to or respect in 80-12. And then on the flip side, maybe a pro player that, whether they're a captain or just player that you respect and look up to as a model.
Sure, sure. I would say with regards to the 82L community, honestly, I've played against so many teams now. It's honestly kind of hard to think about. Uh, with regards to like this season, I'd say IPA is a guy I look up to a lot. Um, he's got a lot of I think like he thinks about Dota in this very like flexible way I feel like a lot of people kind of tend to like put themselves on the short and narrow with regards to like how to win a game of Dota, how to draft a game of Dota, how to like just like go into lanes and play. But every time I play against Seven Dark 30, I'm constantly surprised by something that they're doing, whether it's because they're flexing all their core positions or they're picking a hero that I didn't expect and playing it in a core role or whatever. And he's also just a very like I feel like there aren't too many analytical minds when it comes to captaining, at
Oh,
least
I would definitely
that I
agree with that.
see.
Yeah.
I think that IPA is one of the few people who's actually like approached me after a series to be like, "Hey, did you want to like talk about the games? What went right? What went wrong?" And to me, that's not only a sign of like a respectable player and captain, but also the sign of someone who's thinking about the game a lot and wants to get better.
I would 100% agree with you. In fact, you are not actually the first person to say that. I mean, as myself, I definitely look up to IPA and 8012. I think he is an insane captain, insane drafter, and the way he like manages his team, I think is very good. So I would agree with you on that one.
As far as pro players, um, I mean, the gimme answer is to just say Yadaro because that dude just won a fucking TI and he looked like he was, having himself a laugh while he was doing it. But no, for the longest time, I was actually a really big fan of Ana. He was this player who was able to not only like win two TIs, which is its own achievement, obviously, but he did it in such a way that people don't really get to do in Dodo, which is like showing up and leaving whenever you want, pretty much. Like he was treating, you know, everyone memes to death that Ana treats going to TI as his part-time summer job or whatever. But I mean, for all the memes, I mean, the kid actually did it.
Yeah.
Um, and like if you look at his play while he was doing it, like the kid had killer instincts. Um, just this insane mechanical ability and this ability to like turn games that were just like completely lost. And for that, for a long time, I spent a lot of time watching Ana replays and trying to emulate some sense of playing the game like that. And I think that's also probably part of the reason why I play so much Spectre, but who knows.
I fully respect that. I remember watching an interview after the first TI they won. Of No Tail saying that they were having a lot of trouble like flying him out to like the hotels and stuff they were at because Anna was taking care of his mom, like she was sick for a while, and because like Anna was taking care of her, he wasn't like showing up for scrims and stuff. And then he just shows up and wins TI. It was a crazy story that I definitely have respect for that guy too. So that's a good choice. I think Radiofoot said Jerax, which was another one. Both on OG, so that's kind of
I
cool.
mean, it's hard not to like the OG guys,
Yeah,
like
it's hard.
yeah.
So, all right, well, Benny, thank you so much for the interview. I do appreciate it. My goal is to put basically two interviews together that are kind of contrasting each other, but into like one video, is my goal. And I'm gonna make a couple videos on this. So I do appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for your
Hey, no
time,
problem.
man.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Anytime. Take it easy, brother.
Hey, you too.